you for joining me for our first installment of Service Life, Armed Forces. I have the honor of sitting with my first guest, Ron Feliciano. Ron, thanks a million for joining us, man.
Thank you for having me.
First things first, thank you for your service. You and I had a chance to kind of hang out in the green room and kind of get acquainted a little bit. I really enjoyed talking to you. So first, I guess, let's get the details on the table. So you served in which branch of service?
I was in the U.S. Army.
Okay, awesome. And how long were you in the service?
Just about 12 years.
12 years, awesome. So I guess probably the question I would have is, what was your MOS, military occupational specialty? What did you specialize in?
I was 11 Bravo, which is just a standard infantry soldier, no specialty.
Okay, awesome. And where did you do basic training?
Fort Benning, Georgia.
That's what I thought. My brother was 11 Mike in Fort
Right.
Benning, Georgia.
Yeah.
So I guess you guys ran around together quite a bit.
Yeah.
Right? So we have a lot to talk about, a short time to get there. So I guess what I'd like to do is kind of start back prior to your time in the service. Essentially, there was once upon a time you were just a little boy playing with G.I. Joe dolls or Tonka trucks or whatever.
Yeah.
What was happening in life prior military? Where did you grow up?
Well, I grew up all over because my father was in the military.
Okay.
So, since I was born, I lived all over the world. So I was literally playing soldier when I was a child, and then, finished up school here when he got out, and then I started college, but things weren't working out, so I decided to enlist.
Okay.
And made a very drastic decision within 2 weeks and took off.
Which is a question I served as well. My reasons, everybody has a reason for joining the service, and they vary. My reason was probably the non-traditional reason, in that I was a homeless 15-year-old boy and I needed some structure.
Yeah.
So I joined the military. I know some people join for the educational benefits. Talk to me. Why did you join?
I needed direction in my life.
Okay.
I started going to, I started my first semester in college, and I came home one day and literally got into an argument with my father. And, we went back and forth, and that's why I was like, I'm done with this. And I was like, I'm joining the Army. Mm-hmm. And he was like, well, I'll believe it when I see it. And then I was gone 2 weeks later, just like that.
Was your dad the kind of dad that wanted you to join the military? Was that like a family tradition kind of mindset of his?
No,
or?
not necessarily. It was something that he did, that he needed to do in his life at that point. And, I'd always believed that anyone who has the chance, the ability to, should serve a 2-year commitment or something. But it's definitely not for everybody after, once I was in. So
I have the same mindset. I'm just going to cut you off because after I came out of basic training, I remember when my two older brothers also served, and the brother that enlisted first, when he came home from basic before he shipped off to Germany, he and I were out walking around, and he told me that a drill sergeant said to him that he was going to be 6 inches taller by the time he was done with boot camp. And he said to me, John, I am 6 inches taller. And then he went on to explain that there was this mindset that not only was it his posture, because
right.
Standing at attention and this and that, but he was 6 inches taller in every aspect of how he saw his life and how he saw who he was. After I got out of basic training, I completely understood that. And I remember coming back to the civilized world, or the block, or whatever we called it, and everybody looked like a slouch to me. I just had this kind of structure. And that's when I realized that the same thing. I kind of developed the mindset that I think that everybody should experience that, just for the structure aspect of it, just for that. So I can relate to what you mean when you say that.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to look down here at my cheat cards for a second. So as a boy, tell me, what were some of your interests? What did you do? Artist, musician?
I was really into drawing for a long time. But I'd always wanted to be a filmmaker since I can remember being a little kid and seeing my first movie, which happened to be Top Gun.
Oh yeah, excellent.
I don't know why, but I remember that movie very vividly. And so as I went on with life, I was all over the place, moving back and forth. It was like a very unstable environment, but we grew up just fine.
Yeah, sure.
And so I just kind of was all over the place, but I thought that I would end up being an architect. And then, like I said, school never worked out.
I find it interesting. There's just in the short amount of time that we've had a chance to talk to each other, a lot of the similarities that parallel to my life. There's drawing and art. I lived all over the country growing up, but it was because there was no structure in my family life. And then maybe that's why another reason why I needed that military was for my own finding of my own structure. So as you aged, went to school, what did you originally go to school for before?
I was actually just an undecided major at the time. I had just started. Okay. I graduated like a year early than everybody else because of the way school started, like when I started kindergarten. So I was always the young kid growing up in my grade. So going into college, I was 17 years old going into school, which is not typical of,
So maybe there's a lack of maturity or development or something that made it a little bit more difficult for you.
And I was the first one to even consider going to college, like in my family. Like it was like a big thing.
So did you join at 17, the armed forces?
No, I joined that following year. I was 18. Yeah.
Okay, right on. I was 17, so right there. But so you joined the Army. Obviously, you could have joined the Marines, the Navy, or whatever. Why did you choose the Army?
Well, originally I was trying to go to the Air Force because I wanted to fly, but they didn't have any positions open where I would be on an aircraft at the time, other than some random thing that I just didn't want to do. So, like I said, I made a very quick decision. Went right to the recruiter. It was like I told him, "This is what I want. I want this, and this, and I want to leave as soon as possible." And that's just how it happened.
And that's what they do. You find yourself in Fort Benning,
yeah,
boots
very
on the
quick,
ground. Yeah, foot soldier. Yeah.
Like regretting what I had just done.
Yeah. Which is interesting. So basic training, you say regretting what you had just done. I remember what it was like for me to go to basic training from the unstructured life that I had. I think I was always wired for structure. I always needed it. What was it like for you? When I went to the service, my oldest brother and I joined together. So we were in this buddy program where we went to basic training together. I had that comfort. There was a bit of a comfort blanket of having that sibling with me. You joined alone. So you find yourself at basic training. What was that like?
I really didn't know what to expect. I mean, I was getting yelled at from the minute, I left the MEP station. Like I wasn't even actually in the Army yet, and they were already on me. I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be a long summer.
A long haul, yeah. And
then when you get there, though, you start to see everybody else that's exactly in your same position, and we're all have the same look in our face.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you kind of just connect with people immediately.
Very quickly.
Very quickly because we're all together now.
Yeah, and you find out very quickly who you can connect to because we're in that state of duress, and right away, like I can talk to this guy, I can talk to that guy or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So, when you started working your way through basic training, did you do basic and AIT simultaneously, like back to back?
Yes, that's how it works with that MOS.
It does specifically for
that particular
for 11 Bravo. Yeah. Okay, I just happened to be lucky because I was 13 Bravo and they could split it up, but I had mine back to back.
Yeah.
So once you had finished basic training, you had 1 or 2 weeks time to visit family.
No.
Really?
No, I was kind of different. So I went in because I was 11 Bravo, but I had an airborne contract. So I was waiting around to go to airborne school, which is also in Fort Benning, Georgia. So because of the summer, it's very crowded with people going into basic training. So I kind of got held back because like ROTC guys take precedence and things like that. So I was in what's called airborne holdover for a few weeks. So we just did our PT and kind of went around the base and did random, mow grass or
and then
sweep rocks.
And then off to Germany, right?
No, I went to after airborne school. This is when September 11th happened.
Right.
So I went home for 2 weeks and then went to my first duty station, which was Fort Lewis, Washington.
Okay. Interesting. And so then at what point did you end up being deployed to Iraq?
About 2 to 3 years after my first duty station. What happened? I went to a unit that was, it was like a new experimental type of unit with the equipment and vehicles we were getting. With the 25th Infantry Division, which had the Strikers, the 8-wheeled armored vehicle. It was a new concept for the Army, and deploying a unit that could be more mobile and deployable, quicker around the battlefield.
Awesome. So you did tours in Iraq. Ultimately, what I'd like to ask is, because of your military service and very interesting time period, obviously, to be in the service, your experience was different than my experience,
right?
Because I was serving mostly during peacetime. While in the service, barring the idea of conflict and trauma, you're still a human being experiencing life. You're still making friends, you're still meeting people, you're in a foreign country. What kind of things did you guys do during your downtime? Like, what did you do for entertainment? How did you guys find this mental grounding or whatever to keep you getting through? Like, what did you guys do for fun?
Wow. Yeah. The infantry is a little bit different than, or it's kind of like a wild fraternity, I guess, in a way, so a lot of the single guys, it was the typical just kind of partying, it was like college life without class, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah,
so,
sure.
But, like we would try and take trips, we'd go, whitewater rafting or something on the weekends, they had different trips you could go on. Like when I was at Fort Lewis, I had this crazy idea to go climb Mount Rainier.
Nice. I'm a mountaineer.
We
awesome.
We wanted to summit at, was it
14,500
14,500 feet or something, but we could only get to 10,000 feet because of
acute mountain sickness.
just amongst other things. We were just not prepared to climb 14,000 feet up a mountain. But we thought we could.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Which I guess would lead me to the next question. What is an experience that you had during your time in service that's a very memorable experience? One that maybe it was a huge aha moment, it was something that you wouldn't have experienced had you not been in the service, but something that's memorable and stands out to you that may have affected you or impacted who and how you are today.
I think there was when I was stationed in Germany, and it was like the holiday season, but that was like the first kind of holiday that I didn't come back home for that 2 weeks. I stayed, where I was with the unit. We would have like 4-day weekends. It was just, a good time to relax, but I didn't want to, for whatever reason, spend the money to go home. So I stayed over there, and me and my friend decided to take a bus trip to Rome.
Awesome. Which,
traveling to Rome, like from Germany, isn't that difficult of a task. So, we took the opportunity. It was very affordable. Going there to spend New Year's in Rome was interesting. New Year's, you think you want to party and stuff like that, but just seeing the history of that city, and thinking, all the way back to, civilization and the Roman Empire and stuff. Like, it was just a very fascinating thing that like not everybody gets to do or see.
Yeah.
So, that sticks out in my life. I just remember being in the Colosseum and looking around.
Knowing that thousands of years ago, you're a very introspective person, and I like that. I think I really look forward to talking to you more and getting to know you more, because I do see a lot of the parallels in our lives. You are currently at Bucks County Community College as a student. What is your focus there? What is your major?
Cinema video.
Cinema video. It
is.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Awesome. I likewise did the same thing. So where do you see yourself going beyond that? Beyond Bucks County, the college, beyond the degree for cinema video, what's next?
I mean, I ultimately I would like to shoot, like focus on perhaps becoming like a freelance wartime videographer, or doing documentaries on like PTSD awareness, stuff like that, because a lot of veterans are hurting real bad, and I just don't think that there's enough out there for people who need help, so.
Yeah, right on. Well, that's a very noble thing, and I think that you would be the right guy because you have that very intimate connection to that. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me. I can't wait to talk further
Thanks
and
again.
explore more about the world of Ron. So thanks again for having us, and thank you for your service.
Thank you. It's an
Thank
honor
you
and
very
pleasure.
much. Thank you for joining us. Visit us again as we continue to celebrate the lives of those who have served proudly in our armed forces. So.